Just 24 hours ago I came back from Thessaloniki. Now, why is Thessaloniki relevant in the context of SEEMO? Well, first of all, the name of the city, Thessaloniki, is very closely related to the region of Southeastern Europe.
Operation. So we are trying to find concrete answers and trying to support concrete answers to problems which have been mentioned before. I'm delighted that SEEMO has succeeded in gathering so many high-ranking representatives of the media, and I am sure that we will all enjoy a very interesting conference.
This time it's different. This time the issue is an analysis of the vision for European Union membership from the perspective of the media, from media freedom, media legislation, media market institutions, independence of journalists, standards of journalistic practices, and so on.
First of all, on behalf of the United Nations, I would like to thank the Secretary General of SEEMO for allowing us this opportunity to speak to you for under 5 minutes. I wonder if you know, maybe you do, how much power the media has, how much power you have to shape opinion. And it is that power, your ability to shape opinion.
In the maximum 3 months later, there will be a change on the top management level of the agency. And nobody can tell me that this happens by incident. But, and this I also want to stress, this is all not only a fact in Eastern countries or in third world countries or fourth world countries. This is also true for Western European states and countries.
Decade or more than decade of democracy in our region, we have taken very important forward steps on the improvement of press and the media in general.
The one general frame at this moment what's happening, and I'm afraid that media from democratic countries at this moment are not giving a good example to these transition countries who are working on media reform.
Of those days in Croatia and in English, and send them to Hall of Fame and NBA headquarters. It became a custom for newspaper publisher to issue the books or DVDs on strictly commercial basis.
Southeast Europe in general. And I would just like to say a couple of words about Bosnia. Bosnia, in terms of media regulation, Bosnia is in a very good position in Southeast Europe. We have like freedom of access to information law, which is largely, which is very much essentially implemented.
So it doesn't look too bad in terms of what these countries are doing. Again, on the books, the implementation and the whole thing sinking down to the courts in its application, of course, will take time. Access to information is another topic. Its flip side being secrecy laws. There is quite a need that countries really do put such legislation in place, but also that the culture of bureaucratic and administrative secrecy changes.
I just wanted to comment because I think there was a bit confusion within the discussion about non-independent media and non-biased media.
To give a name to, not the official name of the former Republic of Yugoslavia of Macedonia.
CSE, not OCE, and I would like to bless Mr. Bless for giving me sort of a catch. You're talking about free flow of goods. It doesn't end only to the ordinary citizens, those who would like to.
Now, speaking of governments,
there is always a good tradition that in Vienna an international media affair is hosted by the city and in particular by the mayor himself. Now today, unfortunately, he is not in the position to be with us, but we have a long-standing friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the city of Vienna, it's a pleasure for me to be your host tonight. I hope your trip to Vienna was a good one, and as I heard, the start of your conference was it already.
It means on your right side is Dr. Erhard Busset, Special Coordinator of the Stability Pact for Southeast Europe and also Chief of the very famous IDN Institute in Vienna.
I think it's quite difficult to tell you something as media persons about the situation. I only want to give some judgment on the development. First of all, the positive message. I think I'm doing this not by this anniversary of Sigmund Freud today, that you have something for your soul, but as Oliver said, I'm involved for a very long time and working on it.
I've got to say, to deliver something to a broader audience. Of course, access to information is difficult not only in the transition countries as we are, but it's difficult everywhere because everybody has something to hide, either a politician or a boss of a company.
So the recent events have changed the imagination about Ukrainian civic life. The situation today is not simple and have a lot of nuances. And the results of the last parliamentary elections have clearly shown this. If Orange, its so-called Orange explosion in many respects has been caused by aspiration to democratic values.
In the different parts of the media, whether public media or private media, what are the encouraging moments that the situation is changing and now we are not anymore living.
Even today, after 16 years, didn't see the results of those last of lives. Yes, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank so much SEEMO for its role that it has at the beginning of the year in Romania.
Even we have that kind of law, and they have any kind of possibility to send a request to try to get some answers from the public bodies.
And certain regulations that have been adopted. The one quite old one, because it came from the old commission, is this one called Code of Good Administrative Behavior. Some of things here are actually quite funny, saying like how phones should be answered, and you have to identify yourself and say your name, which I thought was normal, but it's all in here.
Occupation force or international force or whatever you call them. Can you write anything against them? Can you write in the newspaper something?
Criticize and others. You have many different articles about them or against them, not in a way that they have to leave the country, but
especially since I'm from Croatia, to Croatian public. As you know, Croatia is an accession state. We're,
to Brussels, or they're saying just on an ad hoc basis here and there, and that limits, I think, then the quality of coverage and what is actually covered at the end. I think at the end of the day, it's only one-sided.
We have recently movements that are openly showing their unhappiness with this non-transparency.
But the owner of this media decided a few years ago to make a political career.
In the case of Slovenia, it's shown that the institution of information commissioner or ombudsman for access to information that is established by the law on access to information.
Let me use my right of information to tell you that since I heard of being an editor-in-chief, I am now a practicing publisher, and I am publishing a quarterly on the region.
Very interesting and prominent experts on position of minority in the Southeast European countries, and what about the diversity reporting? I think this is a very important issue, and on the other hand, by authentic reports of minority media owners or workers. And after this announcement, another one. Some of the speakers here, they have prepared presentations, and some of you may ask for some presentation, for some...
given to the public service broadcasting in a way that they have to produce programming for or by minority communities. But I think, and there is already a practice in some Western European countries, mainly I know for Great Britain,
and publish or broadcast them without engaged journalists from those communities. Example, the Beta service in the languages of the national minority.
In the Vojvodina, aside from the Serbs, only Hungarians have a daily magazine in the native language. It is named Magyar Szó, and the director is here, which meets.
And as far as I know, we have about 17 publications, newspapers, weeklies, monthly magazines, and half a dozen of radio stations broadcasting in Turkish in place. But the quotes, the audience, the readers' numbers are very, very low.
Throughout the kind of information that you can get from the governments, from the institutions and so on. But we Roma activists, we do sometimes make an estimation how we are, who we are here in Europe. So the only answer I can give to you today is, as much I know, it's about 10 million in Europe.
Their own examples, their own stories. So this is an positive trend. So this is basically one picture of minority media in Kosovo.
You have some local media in Vojvodina, in 2 or 3 small towns. They have a local broadcaster in Czech, for example.
Unfortunately, you cannot see the Viennese channel program. There's one channel on the 8th channel. It's called Okto in Vienna. It's somehow a concept of the civil media, as you say.
Today, of course, public broadcasting is going through very difficult time, not only in East European, South East European countries, but practically in the whole.
With so many platforms and with digitalization offering an unlimited amount of television channels, the whole idea of having a public service broadcaster is obsolete. There are pressures coming from the European Union on public service broadcasters, especially in terms of their financing, looking into how the money is spent, and then pressures coming from the World Trade Organization, especially the American influence there.
Mentioning that you have politicians who simply interpret their right that after a democratic election, if they got a majority, they have the right during this period of time where they are, so to say, governing the country, also to have under other controls, medical service, public services of all services.
Its media policy. New radio and TV stations started to come up and began to compete. Nonetheless, the Albanian radio television, although lost its significance and importance, still remained under the control of the governing party. Partly because of these media changes and political maturity, gradually its news bulletins started to air the views of the opposition, but the difference in time and quality was huge and remained as such for a very long time.
RTK has worked hard to advocate for the legislation which would provide independence and financial sustainability. Regulation on TMC, which is Temporary Media Commission, precisely UNMIC Regulation 2036 and law on IMC
did not really provide the proper regulatory mechanism for independent electronic media, especially public one. For more, it has established several mechanisms of the control. Furthermore, a new law on public service, especially some articles of this law, is
including my country, Macedonia. There is only one shortcoming. We are lacking the crucial law, the law for obeying laws. Otherwise, there are no bad laws. Our former broadcasting law wasn't so bad that we have to change it. But after it was on power for 8 years, we all find out that no one is really obeying and implementing it. And instead of taking heads down for people who are not...
We have now for the first time since 2 years a political situation where we got one colored government, so to say. It's also a coalition, but coalition of similar political parties. And they thought that their first duty is actually to change the public opinion, because the public opinion seemed to be not balanced, although they won the elections. And one of the first steps was, among others, to reshuffle the...
They promulgated a law that will let's put it, the first child of the democratic Kosovo Democratic Society, that was RTK in this case, they turned to a state-controlled media outlet, and that thanks to this law, and especially thanks to some articles within this law.
On the other hand, media themselves are becoming more and more political and
ask him for help to help her son and his her daughter-in-law to find job. And she told me that this very high-level diplomat in Georgia asked her for...
We're talking all the time about our fight against corruption. When I said I think journalistic fight against corruption, but very rare we want to talk about corruption within the media. But that's the issue, I think.
As to foreign journalists said anything about media and said our media is very free, we have any condition, we have a good law. That's our communists started to lie, and if you hear maybe in different foreign meetings.
Now, of course, if you would go to the mediaindex.ro website and you'd click on this newspaper name, you'd see the company that edits the newspaper, and you'd see that the guys that are involved in that company are also involved.
I'm the founder of the Transparency International in Skopje, and I'm a member, actually. I'm one of those very tiny minority of journalists who do not believe that there is investigative journalism and that there can be investigative journalism, as a matter of fact.
We can only do the same thing we did already, I don't know how many times, to make a list with the names, I mean, a written list of us.
Corruption. You know, we need a building approach, which is reform and institutional building, not the fighting approach, which is
on societies, and especially in the media in Southern Eastern Europe. What stands behind it is a deep dissatisfaction on the side of the...
About trafficking in women 10 years ago, but nobody paid attention, nor officials.
When you ask her, do you think that police, state, health system, education, some secret document, something like that, we actually don't talk about investigative reporting. It's exactly the same thing. That's what I said, so
keep an eye on all those who are actually inside and prevent you from walking out during this actual discussion as well. We've got 4 large people barring the doors, so don't try it. Okay. So, my name is David Dadge. I'm the editor at the International Press Institute. SEEMO is actually an affiliate organisation of the International Press Institute. And I'm very happy to be here to actually discuss what I think is one of the more...
After we finish our civil war, we kill each other with balothies, as we call, boom boom in the air, during celebrities, and especially wedding celebrities.
4 years, especially during the previous administration between 2000 and 2004, was the public advertising. The former political power used public advertising as a tool to influence or to buy the silence of the media.
Of exposure to ridicule the state and state symbols, foreign states and their symbols, selected international organizations and national and ethnic groups. The relevant changes were introduced in criminal legislation following a long campaign made by journalists and civil society groups for the replacement of prison sentence with monetary fines, proportionate monetary fines.
Some fines which journalists will prefer better to go 2 months in prison and become famous and not paying 100,000 euros, which makes the paper die in our conditions. We need proportional fines.
According to my opinion and my experience, we expect
codes of ethics to set up press councils or whatever they considered appropriate, but the main problem was that the media community, at least in Romania,
we were putting in front of us the legislation of Norway, of France, of Italy. So,
in a jungle of early primitive capitalism. Anyway, to put aside this kind of, and to be serious, I think that we really discussed our profession by far more profoundly than anything else during these last 2 days. And that a joint appeal should not be sent so much to the governments but to ourselves.
And the standards for EU membership appeal and urge the governments and authorities in the region, as well as all involved and relevant international institutions too. I think in Netherlands as well.
Are they taken to court by European Commission because of that? I suppose so. Because acquis does not allow that. It's against the acquis. They might have it, but they must be in the court.
Shall I say, not democratic, but most civil political parties in Serbia. This is Civic Alliance of Serbia, Nataša Mićić, former, by the way, acting president of Serbia while she was a speaker of Serbian Assembly.
With one single purpose, to undermine credibility of journalism and to somehow to show us as just a